like to, I've already welcomed Kaukab just a few minutes ago, but I know that we are we're delighted to have Kaukab join us, the Minister for Equalities in the Scottish Government. And without further ado, I'll hand over to her. Very nice to see you.
Thank you. Thanks very much, Richard. I take it everyone can hear me okay? Yeah. Brilliant, thank you. So good afternoon, everyone, and also thank you to Hourglass for the kind invitation to speak at today's event. It's a pleasure to join you today, and I'm delighted that Scotland is the host nation for this year's Safer Ageing Summit. And I'm really pleased to add my welcome to delegates from across the UK and beyond to share in this vital conversation about safer ageing. Today's agenda reflects the complexity and urgency of the issues we face, whether it's tackling ageism, addressing the links between housing and abuse, or shining a light on the sexual and economic abuse experienced by older people. These are difficult but necessary discussions, and I commend Hourglass for leading them with such clarity and compassion. Scotland's changing demography is well documented. From the last census in 2022, the National Records of Scotland highlighted that the number of people living alone has increased by over 100,000 since 2011. In 2022, there were 930,000 single-person households in Scotland, which was a third of all households. And this was also the most common sized household. Over 500,000 people aged 55 and over were living alone. This is an increase of over 40,000 aged between 55 and 64 living alone since 2011. There were also increases in people living alone amongst the 65 to 74 and the over 75 age groups. In 2024, the National Records of Scotland reported that Scotland now has more than 1 million people aged 65 and over. And that represents just over 20% of our population. And by 2040, it's projected to reach 1.4 million, or a quarter of our population. So older people are living longer, and of course we must celebrate that. They contribute to all aspects of society by participating in the workplace, carrying out unpaid caring roles, and volunteering. But as we look ahead, we must consider both the opportunities and the challenges that come with these demographic shifts. We do need to ensure that older people are empowered to thrive, and that those facing health issues or disabilities are supported to live independently for as long as they choose to. The Scottish Government deeply values contributions that older people make. They bring a wealth of experience, diversity, and insight into our communities, and they're an integral part of the social and cultural fabric of our society. Yet we know that older people still face many discriminations rooted in outdated attitudes towards ageing. Age is a protected characteristic under the Equality Act, and yet it can be often overlooked in wider equality conversations, and that must change. Older people may experience discrimination linked to other protected characteristics such as race, disability, faith, or sexual orientation, and that can heighten that discrimination. Aging, of course, affects us all. It's a privilege and not a problem, so we must take an intersectional approach to policy and practice, recognising the layered experience of older people and ensuring that no one is left behind. Today's summit focuses, of course, on protecting older people from harm. The exploitation of older people is simply unacceptable, and abuse comes in many guises. And we know that it is often unseen, and like many other forms of abuse, happens behind closed doors. So we need to ensure that our older people are free to thrive and live without fear. And I welcome and value the ongoing collaboration between Hourglass and the Scottish Government in this space. My goal is to help create a Scotland where older people feel respected, heard, and valued, where they can lead fulfilling lives and remain active members of our society. This has to be a joint endeavour between Scottish Government and the huge network of partners that we work with, as well as in our communities. We are committed to embedding the safeguarding of older people across our strategies, from domestic abuse and social care to community safety and justice. We are taking action on assurance, governance, legislation, and prevention to strengthen support for adults at risk of harm. And this includes our ongoing work to embed the Adult Support and Protection Scotland Act 2007, supported by the National Adult Support and Protection Coordinators Work Plan, which is driving innovation and improvement across Scotland. I was pleased to see Hourglass featured in our National Adult Support and Protection Awareness Day campaign video earlier this year. And your voice is essential in shaping the future of adult protection. And I thank you for your continued leadership. Now, regarding domestic abuse, we know that that remains a blight on our society. It's not just limited to physical violence, it includes coercive control, psychological, emotional, sexual, financial abuse, and stalking. It is most often perpetrated by men, and it disproportionately affects women, including older women. Our Equally Safe strategy recognises that women with different protected characteristics, including age, may face heightened risks due to structural inequalities, and we must continue to challenge these injustices wherever they occur. We also know that domestic abuse is one of the leading causes of women's homelessness in Scotland, and that is unacceptable. Everyone deserves to live in safety with dignity and respect, regardless of age. Hourglass, of course, are key partners in the Scottish Government's Older People Strategic Action Forum, and we call it OPSAF for short. OPSAF are developing a new work plan, and this is an important step in building on the foundations laid by A Fairer Scotland for Older People that was published in 2019. And it will allow us to prioritise and cement the plans required to achieve meaningful change for older people in Scotland. But we can't do this alone. We need the expertise of stakeholders, practitioners, and most importantly, older people themselves to guide this journey. The policies that we create in government in partnership with our valued stakeholders cannot be papers that sit on a shelf. They must deliver real change for people in their everyday lives. And that's why I'm proud to be leading on older people's equality. It gives me the opportunity to work alongside you and the many organisations championing older people's rights to find practical solutions to the issues that still affect far too many. So in closing, I want to thank Hourglass once again for bringing us together to focus on safer ageing. And Scotland is proud to host this summit and lead the way in safeguarding older people through our strategies in health, social care, justice, and equality. As I said, safer ageing is not just a government responsibility, it's a shared party commitment across public bodies, our third sector partners, and society at large. and it's one that we must continue to uphold together. Older people's voices must be at the heart of everything that we do. Their experiences, insights, and leadership are essential in shaping policies that truly work. So let us move forward with a clear vision, a Scotland where older people can live free from harm with dignity, equality, and respect. Thank you once again for the opportunity to speak, and I look forward to hearing your thoughts during the question and answer.
Thank you very much, Minister, for that. I hope you can hear me. My face has just disappeared for some reason. I just want to apologise to everyone for the tech problems that have happened a couple of times. There seems to be something with moving people from our green room to our main webinar, but we're working on that. So I'm sorry about that, Minister, and I'm sorry about that, delegates. Right, let's move on to the questions and answers. So first question, hopefully we can get through as many of these as we can. So do you think that the definition of domestic abuse in Scotland regarding perpetrator relationships needs updating to bring it in line with other nations?
Well, sort of like, I suppose, sort of, in referring to sort of like the Hate Crime and Public Order Scotland Act in 2021, I mean, that sort of like adds new protections against sort of like offences that are aggravated by prejudice towards a person's age, including prejudice against older people in that sense. So yeah, and that sort of like hate crime, you know, through Scotland's hate crime strategy and associated delivery plan, we are working with our partners on a range of actions regarding sort of like all of those. So it's actually already in there, kind of thing. Yeah.
All right, understood. I'm going to go quite quickly with the questions because I know we've run out of time on all the other sections, so I'm going to try and get through as many as possible. Okay, and hopefully not all of them are going to be nation comparative as well. Sorry for that. So just like Northern Ireland and Wales, will Scotland be taking steps to look at implementing and appointing a commissioner for older people?
Yeah, so I mean, you're talking about the bill that was sort of lodged, and it's a private member's, well, it's the equivalent of a member's bill. I mean, once that bill is introduced to Parliament, its timetable and outcome is, of course, for the Parliament to determine. So at this moment in time, the Scottish Government is taking a neutral position on it because we actually need to see the bill. But just sort of in this space, I suppose, just a wee reminder that there are existing commissions that protect the rights of older people, the Scottish Human Rights Commission, for instance, and the Equality and Human Rights Commission as well, already play a part in relation to the rights of older people in respect of age as a protected equality characteristic. And people may wish to know also that there is a bigger backdrop of the Parliament actually undertook a review of the commission landscape. And there was a very interesting debate, in Parliament regarding it. And from a government's point of view, we would always, look at the bill, and it's actually up to the Parliament to sort of like to do all that. So yes, we'll be interested in seeing what is in the bill.
Yes, so we, and I think, as you might expect, we would fully support it, but that won't be a surprise to you. Okay, next question. Scotland has often led the way on adult protection. Where do you think the Adult and Support Protection Scotland Act still falls short when it comes to preventing the abuse of older people?
Yeah, so I mean, yeah, we published it was 2024-25 Adult Support and Protection, the National Data Report in September 2025, so not too long ago, and that did provide an overview of activity across Scotland. you know, clearly we take the findings of this report very seriously, and that's why we're taking action on assurance, on governance, on data and information, legislation, policy and guidance, practice and improvement, and prevention to support and protect adults that are at risk of harm. We amended the Adult Support and Protection Act via the Care Reform Scotland Act to provide clarity on the legal pathway for independent healthcare services to share information when and where they are concerned that an adult may be at risk. We published a national large-scale investigation guidance just in October there, which aims to improve the consistency in how large-scale investigations are undertaken across Scotland as well.
All right, thank you for that. Okay. Do you have any thoughts on the provisions outlined in Pam Gozal's Members' Bill, the Prevention of Domestic Abuse Scotland Bill, specifically to introduce notification requirements for certain people convicted of domestic abuse offences, similar to those for registered sex offenders?
Yeah, at this moment in time, the short answer is no, I don't have specific views on the details of that. I'm in that space of evidence gathering, obviously, and it sort of, whilst my portfolio sort of touches upon that with the violence against women and girls, I've also got responsibility for the Equally Safe strategy that we have, that's a joint endeavour. And the bill falls within the scope of my justice colleagues in that team, so they will be scrutinising it. But the government position on all these bills is always that we would be looking to see that it does get to achieve what it wants to achieve. And listening to sort of like all the different stages, you know, the scrutiny processes at committee level. So there's all, you know, it's a complex sort of situation, in as much as any kind of bill that comes forward has to have a thorough scrutiny process, and we have to be satisfied that it does achieve the aims that it sets out to achieve, while taking on board a wide range of views that can come forward in that. So that, you know, that process is being followed, you know, as you're aware.
Okay, you just mentioned the Equally Safe strategy, so I've got a question on that I'll just draw up. How can we make sure that national violence and abuse frameworks like the Equally Safe strategy are genuinely inclusive of older victims, not just those of working age?
Yeah, so this is the bit about, so from my point of view, you know, as the Equalities Minister, obviously I have responsibility for all the protected characteristics. We also know that it's not quite as simple, because the Equality Act is a reserved legislation in that sense as well. And we have the Equality Human Rights Commission. We also have the you know, there's different areas of jurisdiction there. So within that, the scope within our powers, working collaboratively, because if we want to really have that transformational change, we need to have a partnership approach. And the Equally Safe strategy was done jointly with partners, and COSLA being a key delivery partner, working with sort of like organisations that support women and girls in particular. And the strategy covers all areas and portfolios. And part of my role as Minister for Equalities is to make sure that we mainstream that across all the portfolio areas. And you'll be, you know, you're aware of the Equally Safe strategy. If you're not, please have a look at it. It is totally cross-cutting. You know, it covers transport, it covers housing, it covers all aspects. So that then provides a more joined-up approach. It enables that embedding, that actually keeping women and girls safe is a joint endeavour across government, as well as those who deliver the services. So that's why COSLA is sort of such a key sort of like, partner within that. And yeah, so I think that leads to sort of like better outcomes when people are aware, and it's got robust sort of like monitoring and governance things so that, we track it and make sure that all the different strands and all the different portfolio areas are being delivered. If there are barriers to that, then we can work jointly together. We have a ministerial oversight group, which I chair, and we meet regularly to make sure that things are being advanced. I hope that's helpful.
Yes, thank you. And if somebody from our team can put the equally safe strategy in a link in the chat, that would be really good. So if we can take a look at it. I think we've got time for maybe one or two more. This one's a follow-up question to a previous one from Helena Paul. The fact that Scottish legislation only recognises coercive control only perpetrated by partners or former partners. In England, other family members are also recognised as potential perpetrators. Will Scotland update its legislation?
Thank you for that comment. I will bring that to the attention of the appropriate cabinet secretary and minister in the justice team. Thank you. Thanks.
Okay. Well, we could probably squeeze one more in if that's all right with you. All right. Okay. Okay. Do you think there should be a data collection duty on Police Scotland, the Crown Office and Procurator Fiscal Service and charities working with victims of domestic abuse, and an annual reporting duty on the Scottish Government? Sorry, that was long-winded. I can ask it again if you like.
Yeah, so data collection, that comes up quite a lot, and the public sector equality duty, that comes under my portfolio, and currently we're sort of like undertaking quite an extensive piece of work to make sure that we strengthen that as much as possible. Now, it is a duty. So remember that we can, and this is the complex area of sort of like where sort of like there is legislation, where there are regulations, all that kind of thing. So it is a duty to pay due regard to. And obviously, it's sort of like data collection. We know that can provide robust evidence. We also know that intersectional data is very important to collect that, because we have different degrees of harms depending on sort of like how many protected characteristics also intersect. So yeah, some of the issues that are coming up around that are about the numbers and the cohorts of that. What is the set? So for instance, if a council is collecting that, and I just say councils because, it's one of the biggest providers of public sector sort of provision. But in some councils, the numbers can be very, very small. So it's making sure that the data sets are robust and they do follow that quality assurance, especially if you're going to be making policy decisions or prioritizing on the back of that. So the short answer is absolutely, we accept that data provides that, but I'm also very mindful that whilst you have the quantitative data, you also need to triangulate that with a qualitative sort of evidence. And then you also need to have the voice of lived experience. And I said in my opening remarks how important it was, especially older people, is to make sure that they are there as well, to make sure that we hear directly from them. And I feel that that's the best model, really, when you bring all those three elements together to shape things going forward.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you. And thank you for joining us. It's been a really,
Lovely.
really useful and informative session for everyone. And it's a bit of a shame that we couldn't have all met in person in Edinburgh, but the fact that it's online means that people from all around the world can now join it. So
Yeah,
there we are.
exactly. It's very inclusive. I have to say it is inclusive. So, you know, people can join in and all the rest of it. So listen, thank you so much. And, you know, enjoy the rest of the program. And once again, can I just thank, you know, there'll be people on the call that do an amazing amount of work. And I just want to, you know, show my gratitude on behalf of the Scottish Government for all the work that everybody does. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.